Well, welcome back to another edition of 42nd Street Pete's Grindhouse, Really Weird Cinema, and let me take you back to 1974 to a film that I had no idea what I was getting into because I was a big Lee Marvin fan, and anything that Lee was top building, I'd go see. And such was the case with The Klansmen, directed by Terrence Young, starring not only Lee Marvin, but Richard Burton, O.J. Simpson, Cameron Mitchell, Lola Fanala, Linda Evans, and who the hell else? I can't remember. But anyway, we go down to the fictional town of, I wrote this down, fictional town of Atacota, which is probably in Alabama, which was filmed in a town called Oroville, out in the Midwest somewhere, I believe. But anyway, the premise is, and the premise is not good, that basically this town, just about everybody white in it's a member of the Klan, and everybody black in it's kind of held down. And there's gonna be a protest to try to register the blacks to vote in that county, and the Klan don't want to hear it. And Lee Marvin's the sheriff track. His deputy is Cameron Mitchell, whose name in the movie is Butcut Bates. David Huddleston is the mayor, and he's also announcing himself as the Grand Cyclops of the Klan. Second time I've seen Huddleston in a really weird racist movie. The first one was Slaves. Anyway, there's a whole bunch of shit going on, but the bottom line is that a woman, Linda Evans, gets raped by a black guy. And of course, the town wants restitution. So they think they know who it is, but Track picks the guy up first and refuses him to turn him over to the mob. So the mob's driving home when they spot Garth and a buddy, Garth played by O.J. Simpson, and they decide to fuck with him. Well, they chase him through the woods, his buddy falls down, Garth keeps on running, and his buddy is pinned down by the guys and castrated and then shot. So now Garth is pissed, and Garth starts taking out members of the posse with a high-powered rifle, and gets a few of them. Anyway, it starts getting fucking weirder because the Richard Burton character is sort of a patriarch to the blacks who owns this bunch of property, who basically he lets the blacks stay there for nothing in their shacks and stuff like that. And the backstory is that his father or grandfather was hung on this big tree in front of the house for helping the slaves. So everybody seems to be against everybody. So it sort of culminates when Butcut decides that the way to get even and the way to scare the blacks into submission is for a white guy to rape a black girl. And Lola Fanala comes into town. She's been away for a while, and unfortunately she gets picked up by these guys. And the rape is pretty brutal and bloody, being that she's a virgin. And Track arrives, yanks Butcut's badge off, and smears the menstrual blood on his face and drives off to the hospital with her, telling her that he can't press charges against Butcut. She's going to have to say a black man did it to keep things calm, or else she's going to bleed to death in the car. Pretty fucked up, but yeah, that's where we're going with this movie. Because this movie, even though it was released by a major company, Paramount, remember them? They've been in the news a lot lately. It's nothing more than an exploitive film that basically ends with that the Klansmen decide to burn Burton out, and Track has to make a decision, and he sides with Burton's clan. And Garth gets there, and a bunch of Klansmen are shot down. Track is mortally wounded by a dying Butcut, and the tree is set on fire at the end. So, yeah, it's weird, it's creepy, it's fucking racist as all hell. And actually, in this one, the backstory of the whole thing is more interesting than the fucking movie. Because Richard Burton and Lee Marvin were Hollywood power drinkers. And Richard Burton was not sober in any way, shape, or form during that whole movie. As a matter of fact, if you watch the movie, most of Richard's scenes are filmed with him lying down or sitting down because he was actually too fucking drunk to stand up. And when they showed up there was a palpable tension on the set because Lee Marvin said he was top billed and Richard Burton said, well, I'm getting paid more. So Elizabeth Taylor had showed up because she was trying to get back with Richard, and she squeezed a photo op in between the two guys and said, wishing you luck. And Lee Marvin turned around with all the class in the world, said, hey, sweetie, why don't you just fuck off? And that was the end of that. So anyway, there was a whole bunch of shit going on. There was actually a celebration on Valentine's Day for the people of Oroville. And Lee Marvin was supposed to give the speech, but he was sitting there listening to all these little speeches go on, and he kept getting drunker and drunker by the moment. Then he stood up and fell face first into the cake, and when he straightened up, he goes, "Cocksuckers of Orville, we unite." And that didn't go over too well. The makeup man, when he was supposed to film Richard Burton's death scene in the movie, the director Terrence Young came over to him and told him what a great job he had done with the makeup. And the makeup man looked at him and he goes, "What are you talking about? I haven't touched him yet." Yeah, Richard Burton was pretty much near death on that movie, and basically after the movie had to be put in rehab. And there's another story floating around that he had to have surgery to remove crystallized alcohol from his spine. Pretty fucked up. Then, about, 1977, Richard Burton and Lee Marvin were at a cocktail party and had no recollection at all of working together. So that shows what booze does. So, anyway, I basically was one of those times when I was like amazed I got out of the movie theater alive because I had seen it with a predominantly black audience. And every time the N-word came up, which it did a lot in this movie, it was like, I was cringing. And the other thing is, too, the weird part is, when these movies seem to get sold to TV, all the regular cursing gets taken out, but the N-word stays in for some reason. I find that a little bit interesting. But anyway, like I said, I'm a big Lee Marvin fan, and, Lee is okay in the movie. The movie, it is what it is. It's an exploitation film. That's all it is. It's not a social statement. It's not nothing. If you want to look at it, it's basically how the whites keep the blacks down in these southern rural areas. And it sort of mirrors what's sort of going on today because, hey, let's face it, we're in a fucking bad situation. And a lot of people feel that, they were denied things, blacks got them first, whatever, it's not fair, whatever. Well, you know what's not fair? And I'll use myself as an example. I don't consider myself that much of a smart person. I barely got out of high school, but when I got in college, I had a 3.67 grade average in the first semester, so I guess maybe I am smart. But the whole thing is, and the whole point of me saying what I'm going to say now is, that people feel like they can't do shit, and they feel like other people are standing in their way. Well, let me admit something right now. I'm not a trained writer at all. I learned myself through trial and error. Yeah, I always wanted to write, but unfortunately life came into the way. And it was only when, like I said, when Mike Vraney had asked me to write for the Something Weird Blue Book, that's when I started, and that was handwritten. I think I've progressed a lot because it's been 30 years, but as far as being taught to write, never was taught to write. I learned it myself. And the point is, if you really want something bad enough, you can figure it out for yourself. You can learn how to do it. It's sort of like I was in 3 movies. I never learned to act. I just went with whatever the flow was. So, again, if you really want something, nobody's holding you back from it except yourself. I mean, how many of these guys wanted to be independent filmmakers and did it, even though their product maybe didn't sell or maybe didn't go over? But the bottom line is, you fucking did it. You accomplished something. Just like I accomplished something with my writing, and here I am, how many years later, over 30 years later, still doing shit, and still, I would like to think, has a little respect in the business. But the whole, it's their fault I didn't get anywhere, no, that's fucking bullshit. The only thing holding anybody back is themselves. Realize that. We're not in a great place socially right now and with everything going on, but it's fucking foolish to blame it on somebody else when, you could have done it yourself. And as far as, the whole KKK thing, it's fucking bullshit, man. This is bullshit. This is a free country. This shit shouldn't exist. And we're finding out what complete fucking scumbags we have put in office at this point. And I'll go one step further with this whole pedophile fucking shit. Okay? Everybody's skirting around the issue. The motherfucker's name's on the list, along with a bunch of other motherfuckers that are names on the list. And that goddamn list should be made public. Because if the lowest thing on the fucking planet is a child molester, closely followed by politicians. But the lowest thing is somebody who robs a child of his innocence. And that's exactly what happened here, my friends. And that's exactly what, for some reason, they're protecting these rich motherfuckers, and they should be exposed for what they are. And is on that subject, that's the only thing in the X-rated business that I absolutely positively refuse to deal with. And when one guy came into my store in the Rockaway marketplace and started pushing the fucking envelope with me, I told him, didn't sell it, weren't going to sell it, and couldn't help him out. And when I turned my back on him, he spun me around by the shoulder, in which I tagged him as hard as I could. And the idiot ran out of the store and came back with the cops. And I figured it was going to go this way. And I may have told the story before. When the cops came in, I said, before you say anything, ask him what he asked me to get him before I tagged his fucking ass. And the cop got me off to the side and asked me what happened, and I told him what he asked for, and I never saw the guy again. So that's my stance on fucking child molesters and kiddie porn. Anybody who's involved in it's a fucking scumbag and should be outed and should be punished, especially people in positions of power. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Above all, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.